Hello guys, welcome to Mad About Sports. Today we'll learn how to plot pass maps using Python. So let's start with importing the required libraries for making these pass maps. Let's start with importing Pandas. Pandas is a basic data manipulation library required to you know make changes in the data sets. So the second one is matplotlib. Matplotlib is a basic data visualization library. And finally, MPL Soccer. MPL Soccer is a library specific to football data visualizations. Let's run this. Now, for making these pass map today, we'll be using the data set from the match between Manchester City and Manchester United, in which Manchester City won 4-1. So let's read the data. This data will be made available to you in the description below. So now that we imported the data, let's see how it looks. df is pd.read csv reads any comma separated values, and df is what we're calling it as. So in pandas, when we load any data set, any CSV, any Excel file, we load it in the form of a data frame. So df is short form for data frame, and df.head gives us the first 5 rows of that particular data set. So as we can see in this data set, an ID is available, minute for all the uh, throughout the 90 minutes, the seconds in which each action occurs, the team ID which has the team names and the player names. H underscore A represents the home team and the away team respectively, and type, which has the type of actions, start, pass. If you expand it, you'll be finding another all actions like tackles, and the outcome type. Outcome type gives us if the action made, let's say a pass over here is successful and a pass over here is unsuccessful. And xy and end xy location is pretty much the locations of all the passes or all the actions. So let's say pass over here started at location 50, 50 and ended at a location 34.9 and 61.8. These locations are nothing but the coordinates of all the actions which happen on the pitch. So now that we finished importing the data frame, let's start with filtering out all the passes. So in pandas, um, we can filter or slice the data frame using some of the um, data manipulation techniques. So initially, let's find out all the passes. So df, which is data frame, in which all the type of actions which need to be passes. So df pass equal to df type equal to pass gives us all the, okay, sorry, double equal to, yep, it gives us all the passes in the data frame as we can see. Now we need to filter out all the successful passes in the data frame. So let's do that. df pass, df pass outcome type is equal to, so double equal to is used to see, um, check if something is equal to another thing, if it satisfies the condition. So every time a row satisfies the condition where outcome type is equal to successful, you include it in this data frame called df pass. So let's do that. So now if you look at this data frame, we have all the successful passes. So now let's start by plotting all the passes Manchester City made in this game. So let's find something. Let's rename this as DFMC for Manchester City. MC pass is equal to DF pass. So to find out the passes which are made by Manchester City, we will assign a condition where the team ID is equal to Manchester City. So if you check this out, we have all the passes made by Manchester City, all the successful passes made by Manchester City. Look at the player names: Chao Cancelo, Grealish, Rodri, Laporte, etc. So now let's start with plotting. So in MPL Soccer, there is a function called as MPL Soccer dot pitch. So using the MPL Soccer library which we imported, we call MPL Soccer dot pitch. Now this particular data is in the form of a 100 by 100 pitch. So we assign the pitch type as opta, and let's make the pitch color black and the line colors as white. Now that we got the pitch, we need to put this pitch on a figure, right? So we assign the figure and axis of this pitch and we draw it. Let's say the size of this pitch is 14 by 8. There we go. Now that we got the pitch, let's start plotting the passes. So pitch dot arrows. So pitch dot arrows is a function which plots arrows given the starting location and ending location um, of the actions on pitch. So let's start with, as we can see, there is x, y, index, and y. So we give x, y is the starting location of any action. So let's say a pass has a starting location and an ending location. If you see other actions like tackles, interceptions, they do not have any ending location. So we cannot use arrows on that. So let's plot passes for now. PFMC pass X, which represents the starting location. If you want to know more about these functions, you can check out the documentation, which is available online. And if you want to check out the arguments of this function when you're doing this, you can use any IDE, but currently I'm using Jupyter. So a trick in Jupyter Notebooks is to press Shift and double press on Tab. You get all the particular arguments you need to give for the particular function. So over here, the order goes as x start, y start, x end, y end, and all the other arguments. And another argument required is the axis. Since we already have axis, we give axis is equal to axis. So let me just do it out, type it out for you. DFMC pass location y. Similarly, we pass the index and ny values, and finally we give the axis where these arrows need to be plotted. So as we can see, the arrows are being plotted, but the color of the arrows is in black. So let's change the color. Let's change the color to, let's take Manchester City's blue color, which you will find it online. For now, you can use this code. There we go. Now we can see that all the passes, the density of these passes, there's a high density of passes in the final third, sorry, in the defensive third and the middle third, and the density of passes slowly decreases when it comes to the final third, right? Um, you can play around with the arguments in here. So we can change the alpha value. Alpha is used to set the transparency of each of these arrows plotted. Let's say it is zero point 0.7. As you can see, the transparency decreases, and you can play around the width of each of these arrows. So let's assign the width to be 2. There we go. Right. And it's a good practice to use plt.show so that you won't get this object at the end, right? So now there we go. We plotted all the passes Manchester City made in this particular match. Let's now look at all the passes Kevin De Bruyne made in this map, in this match. So now, similarly, like we filtered out all the passes made by Manchester City, now we filter out all the passes made by Kevin De Bruyne. So DFMC pass, DFMC pass, player name equal to Kevin De Bruyne. There we go, all the passes Kevin De Bruyne made in this match. Let's call this data frame as dfkdb pass. Now, similar to what we did, let's, instead of using a horizontal pitch, let's use a vertical pitch, right? So similar to MPL Soccer.pitch, there is another function provided by MPL Soccer called as vertical pitch. So vertical pitch, we use the same arguments. So pitch type is opta, pitch color is black, and the line color is white. There is another argument known as line z order. So z order in matplotlib or or any library which is using matplotlib is used to set the layerings of the plot. So now that we assign what the pitch looks like, let's give the figure and axis. So pitch.draw, and let's make this figure size as so, 10 by 14. And yep. Oh, sorry. You need to call MPL Soccer first. There we go. So now that we got this, let's instead of using arrows, let's use lines. So another function out of MPL Soccer is lines. So it similar has the similar arguments. If you see, press on shift, double press on tab, you see all the arguments available. So let's pass all the x and y locations and x and y locations. Pass x, dfkdb pass y, similarly and x and y. Finally, the axis. As you can see, all the passes are plotted, but you don't know what the direction is. Let's change the color similarly as we did for over here. Let's take the same color. Now, a good way to represent this to make it look better is use a variable in this function called as comment. So what it makes these lines look like is like comments, a comment with a tail and a head. So there we go. The tail represents the starting location and the head represents the ending location. To make this look a bit better, there are a few more arguments known as transparent, which gives us the ability to change the transparency values at the end and at the start. So let's assign this as 0.2 at the start, and let's say the transparency increases as it goes near the end. So 0.8, as we can see, the transparency increases as we go higher to the ending location. So now let's give the z order. As I said, z order is used for layering as 2. So if you decrease z order, what happens is these pitch lines overlap these lines on the this passing plot. So we increase the z order. Now to make it look finally a bit better, we use another function known as scatter, which is pretty much a scatter plot, um, but on the pitch. So let's make a scatter plot of all the points for all the ending locations KDB passes went to. So df KDB index and ny, we pass them in the function, and let's assign the color to be the same as the pitch color. However, let's assign the edge color of these scatter plots, which is pretty much circles, small circles. Let's give it the same color as this. And pass the axis. Now, as we can see, there we go. We can make it, we can play around with the size of the points. So let's set the size, and we can also play around with the width of the edges, right? And finally, we can also set the z order for this so that it doesn't get overlapped. Okay, it's not called size, it's the variable is s. So there we go. Comparatively better from the beginning. A good practice is to assign a title at the end. So fig dot subtitle gives the title on the top. So let's give a title, Kevin De Bruyne. Pass map. Slash in is a variable, is a Unicode actually used to uh, go to the next line. So don't get confused. Manchester City versus Manchester United 4-1. Again, let's go to the next line. In Premier League of 2021 to 2022 season, right? Now finally give the font size. Since it's a heading, let's increase the font weight, make it bold, and set the color as white. Hmm. Okay, so yeah, or you can leave it as black. There you go. As I said, it's a good practice to add plt.show at the end so that you get rid of the object notation. So we finished this. Okay. Uh, Thank you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Uh, and keep on following us for more content like this. See you again.